Hello, guys, and welcome to today's Nugget. Today, I am going to introduce you guys to the Intune portal and talk about all the needed prerequisites which an Intune admin has to do in order to facilitate a device management or an application management. So before we start this nugget, I hope that you have had a chance to go through the first nugget, wherein I have discussed what exactly Intune is and why we need it. So I would assume that at this point of time we have an understanding of what exactly device management and app management is and why it is so useful and so important in today's cloud world. So if we have gone through that, and at this point of time, if we have made up our mind that okay, Intune is delivering what we are trying to achieve, then this nugget is for you. I'm going to show you guys everything that needs to be done by an admin on the Intune portal so as to facilitate the device and the application management. So this would practically be an prerequisites which the Intune admin would have to do. So there is less theory in this one. I'll show you guys how to set up the Intune portal and how to set up the various attributes of the portal. So now let's just take a look over the agenda for today. So we are going to start with how what exactly needs to be done in order to set up the tenant. So tenant in a way is like our domain. So every company, just like every company or every organization has a domain on-prem, similarly every company or every organization is going to have a tenant on the Azure cloud. So you can think of it like a domain in the Azure. So obviously, like we create a domain, like in the on-prem world, we used to install the domain controller and do a DC promo. Similarly, an organization has to set up an Intune tenant as well. Again, it's just a one-time thing, and inside the tenant is wherein we create users, groups, and devices. Just like inside a domain we would be conventionally creating users, groups, computers, devices, policies in case of on-prem. So the first thing that we are going to do in this nugget is we are going to set up our domain. That is, we are going to set up our Microsoft Intune tenant. It's free, so it's free for 30 days. So we are going to go with the trial version, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Once that is done, I'll show you how we can sign into the portal, that is to the Azure portal as well as the Intune portal. What's the difference? What are the different blades? Then we are going to set the MDM authority appropriately. We are going to discuss what an MDM authority is, why it needs to be set, what needs to be set in the MDM authority, when. So this is one of the prerequisites. So once the tenant is made, the first thing that needs to be done is that the Intune admin needs to set the MDM authority. Once the MDM authority has been set, then we would do the general steps, as in we will be creating users in the Azure, and we will be assigning licenses to these users, and whatever licenses we need. If we want to make use of Azure functionality, then probably Azure premium license. If we are wanting to make use of Intune functionality, then probably Intune a direct license. If we are trying to make use of all of them, then probably the EMS suite, which we talked about in the previous nugget. So over here we are going to see how exactly we can create a user, or we can probably sync a user from our on-prem domain to the cloud using a tool called Azure AD Connect. Once that is done, how we can assign licenses, because assigning licenses is the main thing. I mean, that is how this whole infrastructure of Intune is working on. A end user needs to have a license assigned to him, and only then he can enroll his device and make use of MDM or MAM, which Intune is providing. So that license is something which is a prerequisite, and which is something that needs to be assigned to the user by the Intune admin. So we will see how exactly device how exactly licenses are assigned to users or to groups by an Intune admin. Then we will see what exactly company portal branding is and how we can customize the company portal so that whenever a user logs in, he's able to see a specific name of an organization or a specific logo which the Intune admin might configure as per his organization. Once that is done, then we will enable the device enrollment. So, well, as we are already aware that via Intune, what we are doing is we are managing a device or we are managing an application in the device, and that device needs to be registered in the Azure. Its entry needs to be present in the Azure, and Intune needs to be aware of that device. So that process is referred to as enrolling a device to Intune. But before a end user can enroll his device, there are some settings that needs to be configured in the Intune portal by the Intune admin. So we will take care of that. Once that is done, we will enroll a device to our tenant. We will enroll an iOS, Android, and uh, we will enroll an iOS, Android, and a Windows device to our Intune tenant and make sure that the enrollment is working fine. And then I will push a sample policy for those enrolled devices and demonstrate that how exactly it is supposed to work and how exactly it shows in the Intune portal. Okay. So, alright, guys, let's just get started. This is going to be less of theory and more of practical. So, stay tuned and let's just start with the first step, that is signing up for a Microsoft Intune free trial. As I said, the free trial is for 30 days. After that, we will have to purchase it, purchase the licenses. So, we need to go to a URL, and when we go to that URL, we'll have an option of filling in a form where we'll have to fill in our size of our organization, our email ID, the name of the default user that we create, and a few more information. Once we do that, the Intune tenant is created. So let me just open up my browser and let me just open up an incognito window and then go to Google and then type create Intune tenant. Open up the first one, the first link that comes up, and then it redirects us to docs.microsoft.com. And over here, it has got a pictorial representation of everything that is going to happen when we try to create a tenant. So just scroll down a little and refer to the section which says sign up for Microsoft Intune free trial, and click on the hyperlink that is there on step 1, that is go to Microsoft Intune trial page and fill out the form. So I just clicked over there, and let me just show it to you guys. Let me just open this in another tab and go back in this one. Over here you can see that it says trying our Intune is free for 30 days. So after that we might have to extend it. There are some process behind that which we will discuss later. Okay, so now let's just get started. I am going to create my own new tenant. So this tenant is just like creating a domain in the on-prem. So the location, I am physically located in India. My first name is Saurabh. My second name is Sarkar. My business email address is SAURAV91 at gmail.com. Business phone number is 852-719-0942. Company name is Everything About Intune, and organization size is, let's just say, 50 to 250. Now it's going to ask me to create a user. This is the only user that is going to be created by default in our tenant, and then we can log into the tenant using this user and then create further users as and when needed. So the first user is going to be Saurav at the rate. Now it's going to ask us the name of our tenant, as in the name of our domain. So if we were doing it the conventional way in our on-prem domain controller, then whenever we run the DC promo command, or when we in Windows Server 2012, whenever we promote a domain controller, promote a server to a domain controller, and let's just say it's the first domain controller in the forest, then it's going to ask us for the name of if it's the first domain controller in the tree, then it's going to ask us for the name of the domain, right? So that's the same thing which it is asking us over here. So I am going to call it Nugget Labs 1 dot on Microsoft.com. So if I click over here, it's going to run a check and make sure whether this tenant exists or not in already. So I already have a tenant with the name Nugget Labs. So if I remove the one from here, then it should give me a conflict. Yeah, there you go. It says that not available. So I'm going to go with Nugget Labs 1, and then I'm going to create a password for this account. So that's going to be my password. I am fine with that. Create my account. So now it's going to ask me for a phone number. So first I'm going to select my extension to India. So, all right, text me, and then I'll have to enter the verification code, which is 389 383. 389 383. I just got this text in my mobile phone. Okay. All right. So it's going to, now you can see that it's going to create the profile and the user for me. So right now you can see that it is finishing your sign up, and then at one point of time it is going to create my profile. It's going to create a tenant or a domain in the Azure database and in the Azure server, the backend. So over here, it is showing where exactly we need to go in order to sign in, and the user ID. So this is the only user that is present at this point of time. So we need to make sure that we have the user ID and the password handy. Okay, so now it says that you are ready to go. If we click over here, it should redirect us to, okay, it's redirecting us to azure.microsoft.com. So we are all good here. It's showing us where exactly Azure regions are. It's just an FYI. Okay, so we are good now. The information that I mean, whatever we had to do as a prereq has been done. Our Intune tenant has been created. So now let me just open up a new tab, and I am going to go to portal.azure.com. This is the link for, this is the URL for accessing Azure. So maybe later you can see over here that it logged me in using using my username, that is a Saurav at the rate nuggetlabs1 dot on Microsoft.com. This is the first time I'm logging in using this username and password. It's showing me the name of my organization. That is everything about Intune. So whenever we log in for the first time into portal.azure.com, this is wherein it is going to land us. This is our landing page, and we can customize this a little. So what I usually do is, if I'm only going to work with Intune, then I'm going to remove everything else from my favorites from here. So these are referred to as blades. So each, you can see that each blade has a specific functionality. We have one for Azure, we have one for virtual machines wherein we can create the virtual machines, we have one for load balancer, storage. So right now we are only going to focus on the Azure and on the Microsoft Intune part of the things. Therefore, I'm going to customize these blades. So I'm going to click on all services, and I'm going to remove all these. So as you can see that there are this star is populated. That's why it's showing up over here. If I remove this star, it will go away. So I'm going to remove everything so that it looks a little neat, because I don't need these for my Microsoft Intune to work. So I am removing all these, and all I have to do is just uncheck it. If at later point of time I want to make use of it, all I have to do is I have to go to all services and then click on the star right next to it, and it will show up again. I'm going to keep Azure Active Directory because I'm going to need it. Other than that, I don't need anything else as of this moment. So I'm going to remove everything else. Uh, 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 the only thing else is security center. We can run a search as well over here. So right now, as you can see, that security center is there. I don't want it. So if I type security center and click over here, it's going to get removed. So right now, all we have is Azure Active Directory. I want to add Intune as well. So I write Intune and then I click on Microsoft Intune, and there you go. Microsoft Intune is added as well. So using portal.azure.com, we can access the Azure Active Directory as well as the Microsoft Intune page as well. So if I click over here, you can see that a new tab opens up and it directs us to devicemanagement.microsoft.com. This is actually the URL for accessing Microsoft Intune, which we are going to work upon right now. So there are two ways of accessing the Microsoft Intune page. The first way is going to portal.azure.com and then from there going to Microsoft Intune. The second way is not accessing portal.azure.com but directly accessing devicemanagement.microsoft.com. So if I directly do that, I can still access the Microsoft. So both the pages are the same. If I click on Microsoft Intune from the previous page, it's going to land me over here. If I directly go to devicemanagement.microsoft.com, it's going to land me over here as well. So right now, this is referred to as the Ibiza console of Microsoft Intune. So earlier we used to have another console for accessing Microsoft Intune, which we referred to as the Silverlight console. This is the newer, the fresher, the trendier, the trimmed look, which we refer to as the Ibiza console. The URL for that again is devicemanagement.microsoft.com, or we can access it by going to portal.azure.com and then clicking on Microsoft Intune and signing in using our credential. So if I go to the user section and click on all users, right now you can see that there is only one user that is present, and this is the user that got created when we were creating our Microsoft Intune tenant. So if I click on this, or even if I don't click on this, you can see that it says that it's a member and the username is Saurav at the rate nuggetlabs1 on Microsoft.com, which is what I have used to log in right now to this tenant, and the username is Saurabh Sarkar. Okay, so let me just show you guys, walk you through the Intune portal in brief. I'll do a separate nugget wherein I will show you the all the features of Intune portal. But just for getting started, if I click on the users, this is wherein I'll be able to see the users. If I click on groups, this is wherein I'll be able to see the groups. If I click on devices, this is wherein I'll be able to see the devices that are being managed by Intune. Okay, and then if I have to look at into policies, then there is something called device configuration policy, and then there are different kind of policies that we can, and there are different blades for each of it. Okay, so let me just come back to my deck here. So what we have done until now is we have signed in for Microsoft Intune using the free trial. We went to the URL, we filled in the relevant form, we created a tenant, we created an admin user, and we were able to log in using that admin user and access the Ibiza console. And I showed you guys the two ways of accessing the Ibiza console. First is by devicemanagement.microsoft.com, and the other one was going to portal.azure.com, and from there going into the Microsoft Intune blade. Okay, so moving forward, signing into the Azure portal, portal.azure.com, or there is another URL which I showed you, which is device management dot microsoft.com. That's the other URL which you can use as well. If you want to make use of the Azure functionality, portal.azure.com would be the way to go. And if you are only concerned with Intune part of the things, then device management.microsoft.com is the way to go. So even if we go to portal.azure.com, as I already said, when we click on the Microsoft Intune blade, it actually routes us to this device management.microsoft.com URL by opening it in a separate tab. Okay, so more or less we are doing the same thing. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to set the MDM authority. So we won't be able to, the end users won't be able to make use of Intune MDM unless and until we set the MDM authority. And the way to do that is we have to go to device enrollment. And whenever we go to device enrollment, it gives us this disclaimer that choose whether Intune or configuration manager is your MDM authority. What this means is what okay, let me just explain what exactly this MDM authority is and what it means and what it's trying to say. So we have got a couple of models that we can use with Intune. So let me just press paint. Let me just open up a paint. uh, the first one is, okay, let me do this. The first one is called Intune stand alone. Okay, apologies for my bad handwriting, guys. You'll get used to this once you go through all the nuggets. The second one is hybrid, so I'm going to call it hybrid. And the third one, there isn't actually a third one, there are only two, but just for understanding I am introducing a third one, which is called co-management. Okay, so Intune standalone means that we have got mobile devices. By mobile devices, I mean we have got computers, laptops, mobile phones, everything except servers, which we are going to manage using our MDM, which in this case is Intune. Okay, nothing else is there in the picture. In that case, the management architecture or the management authority is Intune. Okay, that is Intune standalone, which is the case one. However, there are scenarios wherein we have got SCCM in the picture as well. SCCM is also kind of an MDM. It is used for managing the on-prem infrastructure. SCCM is System Center Config Manager, and conventionally we used to use SCCM to manage our mobile device, to manage our devices. When I say manage our devices, one of the prerequisites of managing a device using SCCM is that the device needs to be joined to the domain. Okay, so the device, so if we are managing a device using, so if it's an conventional setup wherein the devices are our Windows servers or laptops or desktops, in that case the devices would be joined to the domain, and we would be installing a SCCM client on the devices, and then we will be having a SCCM server, and the server would be talking to the client, and things will be working out. Okay, now what if we want to integrate SCCM with Intune? That is something which can happen as well, and that architecture is referred to as hybrid. So what happens in a hybrid infrastructure is, I'll just give you the basic brief of it. Is, let's just say that I have a few devices which were being managed via SCCM. I had a few servers, I had a few desktops. Now I want to manage my mobile devices as well. So obviously, to manage the mobile devices, I'll have to enroll the devices to Intune, because mobile devices per se cannot be managed via SCCM because my mobile phone cannot be joined to a domain, right? In that case, the devices will be managed via Intune. So right now we have got a setup wherein there are some devices which are managed via SCCM, traditionally like the servers and the computers and the laptops, and the mobile devices are being managed via Intune. Okay. So now what happens is the admin has to manage two different portals. So the admin has to manage the Intune portal as well as the admin has to manage the SCCM portal as well. So the admin has to manage two portals. Okay. So to provide an ease of access to the Intune admin, we came up with a hybrid solution. What happens in a hybrid is we are able to integrate SCCM and Intune together, and we no longer need to go to the Intune portal and manage devices from there. We make policies in SCCM portal only, and using this policies, the sync happens between SCCM and Intune portal, and the end devices, let's just say that there is a mobile device. That mobile device is going to get obviously enrolled to Intune, and that device is going to check with the Intune portal, and then Intune portal is going to fetch the policies from SCCM, and then at the end of the day the policies are going to flow to the device. So we don't have to create a different policy in the Intune portal like we would in case of Intune standalone. So hybrid is just for integrating Intune portal with the SCCM portal, so that the mobile devices can be managed as well as the servers and the desktops, and the end user and the Intune admin does not have two different portals to deal with. He just has one portal to deal with. Okay. Just an FYI, guys, this hybrid setup is actually going away. It is actually for the interim, as in uh, if we have uh, if we have an SCCM setup and we have an Intune and we are implementing Intune as well, then we can go ahead with the hybrid setup and then probably migrate from hybrid setup to the Intune standalone setup. So just an FYI, guys, hybrid setup is something which is going to go away. So very soon the MDM authority would be Intune standalone, wherein and we won't have an option of choosing a config manager for hybrid. So for hybrid setup, the MDM authority is SCCM. That's the important part. For Intune standalone, the MDM authority is Intune. Okay, and this hybrid setup is going to go away probably by the end of this year, unless and until Microsoft decides to extend it again. So probably by the end of 2019 this hybrid setup would no longer be there, and the management of mobile devices would take care from the Intune standalone portal, and the SCCM devices would be managed, if there are any, from the SCCM portal. The third one is co-management. I would actually do a separate nugget on co-management. It's a very deep concept in itself, as in how we can set that up. But just in short, let's just co-management. There are two things about co-management that we need to know. First is it is only applicable for Windows devices. So co-management has got nothing to do with Android and iOS, only applicable on Windows. And the second is, as the word suggests, co-management. That is, if we are managing a Windows device by Intune and by SCCM at the same time, then the setup is known as co-management. So the same device is going to be managed via two MDM authorities in two MDMs. So by default, if a device, let's just say that I have a Android device or an iOS device or a Windows device, and I have enrolled it to a MDM, not just Intune but any MDM. Let's just say Mobile or any MDM, Meraki or any MDM. In that case, we won't be able to enroll that device to another MDM unless and until we unenroll it. right? So similarly, if a device is being managed via SCCM, that device cannot be managed via Intune unless and until we remove the SCCM config client from the device. However, there is a solution called co-management which exists, which lets us manage a Windows device only using Intune as well as SCCM at the same time. So some part of the management can be done by Intune and some part of the management can be done by SCCM. Let's just say that from SCCM we are pushing some softwares and applications to the device, and from Intune we are taking care of the compliance part. So it actually segregates the management. So uh, as I said, co-management is something which we will be discussing in detail in a separate nugget. But as of now, let's just concentrate on these two, which talk about the MDM authority. So I hope it has been clear by now that we have got two MDM authorities possible. First is Intune standalone and the second is hybrid. Intune standalone comes into picture when there is no config manager. All we are doing is we are enrolling our devices to Intune, and we are managing it. Obviously, when I say we are enrolling our devices to Intune, the devices can be Android, iOS, or Windows. It can be a laptop, desktop, or a mobile device, but it cannot be a server because Intune, as of this moment, cannot manage servers. In case of hybrid, the MDM authority is SCCM. If we have a setup wherein we have Intune as well as SCCM in the picture, then instead of having us to deal with two different portals, we can integrate Intune with SCCM. There are a lot of steps that needs to be done to set this hybrid thing up, which we will discuss in a separate nugget. But just for now, please understand that there are two MDM, there are two architectures here. One is Intune standalone and one is Intune hybrid. And in case of hybrid, the MDM authority is SCCM, and it is done so that the devices can be managed from a single point, that is from the SCCM console, rather than the admin having to manage the Intune portal as well as the SCCM portal. Okay, so over here it is actually asking us what exactly is going to be our MDM authority. Is it going to be Intune MDM? Is it going to, which is for Intune standalone? Is it going to be a config manager, which is going to be for hybrid, or is it going to be none? So we are going to select Intune MDM and click on choose. And finally, once the MDM authority has been set, if we click on this notification bell icon, it's going to show us over here as well that your MDM authority has been set to Microsoft Intune. And if I close this, over here it says that the name of, if we are at the overview page, it says that the name of the tenant is this, and the Intune and the MDM authority is Microsoft Intune. Okay, this was one of the first tasks that needed to be done, setting up of the MDM authority. So this is the page wherein we selected the MDM authority. Intune MDM authority was the Intune standalone, and the other one was config manager. Okay, now let's just take a moment and talk a little bit more about what's the difference between the two MDM authority. The first one is Intune standalone cloud only management, which you configure by using the Azure portal, includes the full set of capabilities that Intune offers. The other is config manager or the hybrid setup, integration of the Intune cloud solution with SCCM for Windows 10 devices. You configure Intune by using config manager console. So the policies are not set from the Intune portal. The policies are set from the SCCM portal, and then a sync happens between SCCM and Intune fetches that information and then delivers it to the devices. Okay, and we also have an option of changing the MDM authority from config manager to Intune. So let's just say that we are currently in a hybrid setup and now we want to move to Intune standalone. In that case, we will have to change the MDM authority from hybrid or from SCCM to Intune. And before we change that, there are a lot of tools that needs to be done. run, and there are a lot of prerequisites. So that's something which we will discuss in a different tutorial. But for now, just know that the MDM authorities can be either of these two, and it can be changed from config manager to Intune, or if needed, if we are moving from hybrid to Intune standalone. Okay, and just an FYI guys, device must connect with the service after the change in case we are changing it from hybrid to Intune standalone. In that case, the device must connect with the service after the change so that the setting from the new MDM authority, that is Intune standalone, replaces the existing settings. And whenever we do this migration, devices that don't have any users associated with it, let's just say that we have a DEP device without user affinity, they are not migrated to the new MDM authority. This is something just an FYI, not something which we are going to do right now. Okay, so now that we have set the MDM scope, now let's just take a look over the users, so which we already did once. So let me just go back over there, and over here you can see that I've got one user. So if I were to create an additional user, the way I would do that would be clicking on new, and then over here typing the name of the user. Let's just say his name is Tom, and then the username, which has to be provided in this format. So that would be Tom at the rate nuggetlabs1 dot on microsoft.com. The profile, it's not mandatory. Properties, not mandatory. Groups, not mandatory. Directory role, let's just say I'm making a normal user. And the password, so this is the password for Tom. Let me just make a note of it. Tom, this is the password. It's equivalent to creating a new user in the on-prem domain. So I just clicked on create. It is creating a user named Tom for me. So once the user is created, it actually shows the source of that user, how exactly that user was created. A user can be created in either of one places. Either the user can be created in the Azure AD, or it can be created in the on-prem AD and then synced with the Azure using an Azure AD Connect tool, which we will take a look into momentarily. So this user was created on the cloud, and so was the previous user as well. Therefore, both the users have source as Azure AD. So once a user is created, let's just say that I have an end user named Tom, and I want to facilitate MDM or MAM for this user. I want that whenever this user is enrolling his device should get managed. So in that case, the first thing that needs to be done is obviously the user needs to be created or synced from the on-prem. And the second thing that needs to be done is we have to uh, go to profiles, and we have to set the usage location of this user. We have to determine, and we have to tell Azure that this user is located in this location. Once we have identified that, okay, this is the user, this user is located in this location, then we will be assigning this user a license. Okay, so as I said, assigning license to a user is a prereq. So if I want that the end user should make use of Intune MDM, the end user should have the Intune ADirect or EMS suite license assigned to him. So first thing first we are going to set a usage location. If I assign a license to this user without setting a location, right now you can see that if I go to licenses for this user, this is the licenses for this user, license assigned to this user. And if I try to assign a license, if I try to assign this Intune ADirect license, I won't be able to assign it, because if I click on it, it will say that license cannot be assigned to a user without a usage location specified. So I will have to first specify a location for this user, as in where exactly this user is located in. So I'll go to Tom, I'll go to I'll scroll down, go to settings, and then usage location. Right now you can see as it is blank. So I'll go to edit, and in the usage location I will select India. So I'll scroll down, and I will set the usage location as needed, and then I will do a save. So the location has been saved. If I change the tabs, I should be able to see the usage location reflecting over here. Yes, indeed it is. So now I can go to licenses, and then I can assign this user a license. So right now our company or our tenant has bought only one license, that is the Intune license, Intune A direct license. So whenever we create the Intune tenant, obviously, if we are going to create Intune tenant, Intune knows that the end users will be enrolling their devices to Intune. Therefore, they will be needing the Intune A direct license. Therefore, this subscription is there by default. So this is something which we don't have to add manually. So this is there. All we need to do is we need to select this license. That over here what we're doing is we are assigning this license, that is Intune license, to this user Tom. So if I do a select and if I do an assign, now license is assigned. So now if I go back to users and click on Tom and go to licenses, I will be able to see this license assigned. Okay, so now this user has the Intune license assigned to him. We can assign Office license, Power BI license, uh, Azure AD Premium license, or any license that we might want to the same way. First, first the Intune admin the admin will have to buy a subscription to this product. Like the Intune admin needs to buy a subscription to Intune as a product, or to Azure, or to Power BI, or to Office. Right now, we haven't done any of that. Intune comes by default. Okay, so let me just open up another tab and let me just get the subscription for Azure. So for that, we will have to go to portal.azure.com, and then I will have to go to Azure AD, and then I'll have to go to licenses. And right now you can see that there is only one product, that is Intune. If we want to buy another product from here, we can buy two products, that is the EMS Suite or the Azure AD Premium P2. So EMS Suite is actually a comprehensive cloud solution to address your consumerization of IT, BYOD, SaaS, and whatnot. So so this EMS E5 Suite actually contains the licenses for Azure as well as licenses for Intune. So I'm going to click on free trial and then activate. And then Azure AD Premium license is something specifically just for Azure. So if you want to make use of something related to Azure only, then this is what needs to be assigned to the user. Okay, so I've activated these two. Now if I close this, go back over here, do a refresh of the screen, then I should have, if I go to licenses, it's still showing one, but shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes, and then it should replicate. Okay, so now that I have assigned the Intune license, and I'm just waiting for mm, let's see how long. Okay, now it's, as you can see, it's showing that purchase products three products as your Intune, which was there by default, because whenever we create the Intune tenant, the Intune license is there. It shows that this license has been assigned to two users. One is Saurav, who is the admin, and one is Tom. And how many are available? By default, 25 are available. 25 Intune licenses are available. And it shows that we have subscription for EMS Suite as well as Azure AD P2. So now if I go back over here and if I click on assign, now I'm going back to users, clicking on Tom, going to licenses and clicking on assign, and going to products. Okay, it's still not showing. Let me just refresh this page and then go back to assign products. Over here now you can see that now I can choose these two as well. Initially I had an option of making only this selection, but then what we did was we went to the Azure Blade, and then we activated these two products as well. So now these two licenses can also be assigned to Tom. Okay, all right. So now let's just say that, okay, so that talks about takes care about assigning an Intune license or an EMS license or an Azure AD license. How about an Office license or any other product that we might need? For that, we will have to go to portal.office.com. Okay, and then we will have to log into this page. So, okay, I think it logged in using skip. It logged in using Saurav@NuggetLabs1. Okay, good. Now I will have to go over here and go to billing and then click on purchased services. Before that, let me just show you the subscriptions that I have right now. If I click on subscriptions, it says that I have an Azure AD P2 trial, which is expiring on 30th April. That is 1 month from today. I have an EMS suite, which is expiring on 30th June, and a Microsoft Intune trial, which is expiring on 30th June. Okay, so if I these are the active ones that I have, which I have. If I want to add a subscription, I'll have to click on add, and then okay. So let's just say that I want to buy the Office subscription as well. So what I'll have to do is I can do the start free trial from here or do a buy now. If I do that, then it will be added to my cart and then I'll have an option of assigning this as well. So let me just show you one of them. Let me just show you Power BI. Power BI. Power BI. Okay, yeah. Power BI, it's a free product. So let me just do a buy now for Power BI. And I don't want to automatically assign it to all users. Check out now, and then it says please waiting, so it's doing something at the background. Okay, it's asking me for some information. This is all temporary, so let me just go in with the default. PAN number is something which I have to provide, so if I do that and do a next, select a state, I'm just this doesn't make any sense. Anyways, yeah, that is fine. Power BI 1 month number of users. Let me just say 100. Next. Over here, I don't want to provide my credit card information, so I'll do an invoice, pay in INR via wire transfer only. But since it does not need any payment to be done per se, as it is free, therefore this should work. So I just did a place order and now it says that you're all set. So I just subscribed to this product. Now if I go back to the admin center and let's see here. If I go back to the admin center, remember here guys, I'm still logged in using not as Tom, but as Saurav@NuggetLabs1, which is an admin. So you need to be logged in as an admin. Now if I go back to subscriptions, the Power BI should show up over here as well. So over here you can see that I have got a Power BI as well. So now if I go back to users and if I go back to the Intune portal, that is devicemanagement.microsoft.com, and if I try to assign one more license, if I click on products, okay, it's not showing yet. Let me just do a refresh of the screen. Power BI should show up over there as well, giving us an option of assigning a Power BI license. Okay, there you go. Power BI is showing up as well. So if I do a select and assign, now this user is going to have a Power BI license assigned as well. Okay, so that is how we take care of, that is how we create a user and assign licenses to the user. Okay, So, as I said, one of the ways of creating a user would be from here, or what we can do is we can use a tool called Azure AD Connect. That tool is available in the Azure AD Blade, and all we have to do is go to Azure AD Connect, and we just have to download the tool from here. And once we download the tool from here, we have to install it. Over here, it actually uh, states as well. Use Azure AD Connect to integrate your Azure AD with your Windows Server AD or any other directory from your network. So right now the it's not installed. So if I click on download Azure AD Connect, it's just going to download the MSI from the Microsoft website. And all we have to do is we have to install it on a Windows machine, which is joined to the domain on a Windows server. And then it is going to sync all the information from our on-prem to our Azure tenant. So I'll be doing that momentarily. So let me just copy this, show in folder. Once the downloading completes, and this is something which we'll be doing. So I think the download was done. So let me just do a copy. Let me just paste it to the desktop, and we will be doing this at the last. So this is done. All right, now let's just switch back to our nugget, to our deck. And over here, adding in user, something which we have done already. Setting up Azure AD Connect on-prem, we will be doing that shortly. But if we are not using Azure AD Connect, so I hope you guys have understood when we need to use Azure AD Connect. If we have users on-prem and we want to sync it rather than creating a new user on the cloud, then we will be using Azure AD Connect, okay? And that is something which we'll be setting up momentarily. Assigning licenses, we have already seen how we need to. One of the prerequisite of assigning a license is there needs to be a user's location that is set. Once the user's location has been set, we can assign an Intune A direct license or a EMS E3 or a E5 license or any other license, let's just say Power BI or Office, once we have subscribed to that. How do we subscribe to that? We subscribe to that by going to portal.office.com and selecting the subscription and making the payment from there, like I just did for Power BI. Okay. All right. Now, since that is done, now one of the other things that we can do is customizing the company portal branding. So once the tenant is set, this is the another thing which the Intune admin can do before the actual enrollment of the devices begin. Let me just show you guys how to do that. For doing that company portal branding thing, we will have to go to Azure AD and then company branding, and then I will have to click on configure, and over here we can actually upload an image and a few fonts and texts and phone numbers, and these will be shown to the end users when the end users are going to uh, enroll their devices to Intune from from their mobile device. So I just clicked on the configure part of the company portal branding, and then it is going to ask me for a background image. So this background image is something which the end user will be able to see when they are enrolling their devices via company portal. So I can upload an image over here. I have an image handy, and then I can upload a banner logo as well. So if I upload a banner logo, let me just do this one. The size is important in this case. The file size should be less than 300 KB, and for banner logo it should be less than 10 KB. So the use of company portal branding is that, let's just say that end user is enrolling his device to Intune, okay, to our tenant. So if he Over here, if we upload the name of the organization or the logo of the organization, then the end user's experience would be like if he's enrolling his device and if he sees this logo and images or something like that which the admin has configured, then it would give the end user an idea that he's enrolling his device right. He's not enrolling it to an incorrect tenant, and it is just for showcasing the user that they are at the right path, nothing else. So we can just do a user hint. So probably, I don't know, let's just see, at the rate nugget labs 1 dot on microsoft.com. Sign in page text, everything about Intune. This is something which they will be able to see. We can customize the background color as well and the square logo image. So let me just put in this one. And so show option to remain signed in. Uh, the Azure AD sign-in flow gives the option to remain signed in until they explicitly sign out. This doesn't change the Azure AD session time frame, but allows session to remain active when the user closes and reopens the browser. Okay, let's just do a yes, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to do a save over here. We will be actually able to see this company portal branding when end user enrolls this device. So what I'll be doing is I'll be grabbing an Android and iOS device. I'll be enrolling it, recording the screen, and then showing it to you guys that what exactly the end user's experience is during the enrollment with respect to company portal branding. Okay. So this is how we set up the company portal branding. It is done for everybody across the tenant. It's not like we can do it for a specific group. So if it has been done, it will be done for everybody. Languages. Oh, okay. All right. What if I create one more and I don't understand any of these languages, but let me just select French. Okay. I just want to check whether it gives us an option of assigning it to any other group or how exactly does it work. Mm, at the rate nugget labs 1 dot on microsoft.com, everything about Intune, background color, square logo image is the same one. Okay. All right, let me just do a save. Once it is created, if I go back over here, it says that two of them are created. One is for default and one is for France. Probably when we log in, we will be able to see which one takes effect. Probably it's on based on the location of the user, but more often than not, organizations go ahead and have only one company portal branding rather than having multiple of them. Okay, so customization of company portal branding, which is something which I just now did. So other than that, these are a list of devices. So once the company portal branding is done, this is something which we need to keep in mind that these are the devices that can be managed via Intune. So if any of these is what we are trying to achieve, then making use of Intune would be the right choice. One of the major things which cannot be managed via Intune as of this moment is Windows Server's OS. So if you're looking to manage Windows Server operating system, then probably going ahead with Config Manager would be the right choice. Now, the last part of the puzzle is enabling the device enrollment. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is everything has been set. Now I'm going to go back to the Intune portal, and now we have to enable device enrollment. What this means is the admin has to enable the feature of device enrollment, and only after that the end users will be able to enroll their devices to Intune. Okay, so mm, for enrolling the device enrollment out of the box does not need to be enabled for Windows and for Android. So at as of this moment, if my user Tom were to get his hand on an Android or a Windows device, and if he tried to enroll a device to this tenant, he would be able to do it because that user Tom has Intune license assigned to him, and that user Tom well, that's all he needs. He only needs an Intune license assigned to him, right? For enrolling to Android or for Windows, and the scope needs to be set. However, if that user Tom wants to enroll an iOS device, in that case, he will not be able to do it. Let me tell you guys why. So let me just open up an MS Paint, and the management of an iOS device is a little different from management of a Windows or an Android device. So let's just say that let's just say that this is my device, and let's just say that this is the Intune service, okay, which in this case is the MDM, okay, and let's just say that this is a mobile device. I hope it looks like a mobile device. Okay, let's just say this is an iOS phone. Uh, this is an iOS phone or a tab, and we are trying to enroll this device to Intune, and we want to manage it. So the communication between an iOS device and an Intune service does not happen directly. It happens via something called an APN. So in the cloud, we have APN, or Apple Push Notification Service, and this is the flow of communication. Uh, the device will never directly talk to the Intune service. The device will always reach out to the APN service, and the APN service will reach out to the Intune service. Or the Intune service, or if it's happening this way, then the Intune service will reach out to the APN service, and the APN service will reach out to the device. So it goes this way as well, like this and like this. So this is like an added layer of security which Apple has provided for all their devices. So not only even this goes not only for Intune service. Let's just say we have got another MDM like Mobile Iron, or let's just say we have got another MDM like Meraki, or let's just say we have got another MDM like AirWatch. These are all different MDMs, uh, just like Intune by Microsoft. So irrespective of the kind of MDM that we are using, the device will never directly talk to the MDM provider. It will always talk to the APN service, and the APN service will talk to the provider or to the MDM service. And the MDM service will never directly talk to the device. The MDM service will talk to the APN, and the APN will talk to the device. So this actually kinds of acts as a gateway or a mediator. This is applicable only on iOS devices. For Android and Windows devices, the devices directly talk with the If this was an Android or an Windows device, the device would directly talk to the Intune service, and the Intune service would directly talk to the device. However, in case of iOS, that's not the case. In case of iOS, it happens via this channel called APN. So what needs to be done is we need to establish this channel, and only then the device gets only then we facilitate device enrollment. Because if this channel is not set up, then even if this device is enrolled to Intune, the communication would not happen, right? Because the device cannot directly talk to Intune, and Intune cannot directly talk to the device. So one of the prerequisite is getting this piece of puzzle in place. We have to set up the APN, and once APN has been set, let's just say that Intune service needs to push a policy to device. The Intune service will talk to the APN, the APN will notify the device, and the device will fetch that policy from the Intune service. But the Intune service will never directly notify the device and say that I have got a policy for you. So this is something which comes into the picture only in case of iOS. And just 100 feet view of what APN is, it's like kind of a mediator or a liaison, and it needs to be there. Only then the devices can get the policy. Only then the devices can talk to the Intune service, and Intune service will never be directly talking to the device. It will be talking to the APN, and the APN will be notifying the device, and that's when the device will be getting its policies. Okay, so this is something which needs to be set up. So what we do is we go to the Intune service, and again, as I said, this is only something which is applicable for iOS. For Windows and Android, it's not needed. So what we do is we go to the Intune service and we establish this pathway. And then once this pathway is established, that is, we need to establish a trust between Intune service and the Apple APN. So how we do it is we download a certificate from here, we upload it to the APN, and then we download a certificate from here, and then we upload it to the Intune service. So then the Intune service and the APN both start mutually trusting each other. Once that is there, then this two-way trust is established, and then Intune service can talk with the APN whenever it needs to notify a device. Now, this pathway is established once the device is enrolled to Intune. So whenever a device is enrolled to Intune, this pathway is established between the device and the APN, and this is something which needs to be, and this pathway needs is something which needs to be established by the Intune admin. It's a one-time thing. Only once this pathway needs to be established between Intune service and the APN. Once that is done, it will be applicable for all the devices. It's not like we have to do it for every device one at a time. The way to do that is, as I said, there is a certificate which we download from the Intune service and upload it to the APN, and there is a certificate which we download from the APN and upload it to the Intune service, and that is how the trust is established. Okay, that was just a 100 feet view of what exactly happens. Now let's just see how that happens. So to do that, to set up the APN, we will have to go into Apple enrollment plate, and then we will have to go into Apple MDM push certificates over here. Right now you can see that the status is not set up. As the status is not set up, if Tom or any user from this tenant who has a license assigned to him tries to enroll a iOS device, he will not be able to. He will get an error because the MDM push certificate is not set up. We will have to set that up. How we set that up, as I said, from Intune service we download a certificate, upload it to the Apple, and from Apple we download a certificate and upload it to the Intune. Okay, so first I will do this. I grant Microsoft permission to send both user and device information to Apple, and then I will download a certificate. In this case, that's not exactly a certificate, it is a CSR. I will download a CSR from my Intune portal. So I am downloading the CSR from here, copy, I'm pasting it to the desktop. Okay, so I've downloaded the CSR. Now I need to upload this CSR to Apple. Okay, so now I have to click over here, create your MDM push certificate. I will have to sign in with my Apple ID. And this is something which is very important. Please make sure that you are signing in with Apple ID, and you make sure that you're not using your personal Apple ID, because this APN setup is has to be renewed every year. It's valid for 365 days only. And whenever the renewing needs to be done, you need to have the Apple ID and password. If you don't, then it might cause some trouble. So I'm going to log in using this Apple ID. And once I log in, I will have to click on create a certificate. So I'm going to create a certificate from this Apple's website here. So I will have to do this, accept the EULA, and it is going to ask us for the CSR, or the certificate signing request. So this CSR is something which we downloaded from the Intune portal. So as I said, it is very simple. From Intune portal, we have to download a CSR, upload it to the Apple portal, and from Apple portal, we will download a certificate and upload it to the Intune portal. That is how the trust will be established between Apple and Intune. So we have already downloaded the CSR from Intune portal. It's there in my desktop. I'm doing an open and doing an upload. Upload is done. Now if I click on download, it's going to download the APN, or it's downloaded in the extension of PEM or .pem file. So it just downloaded the .pem file over here. Now this .pem file needs to be uploaded in the Intune portal. So I'm going to go back to the Intune portal and then browse to your Apple MDM push certificate to upload. I am going to upload the .pem file, and over here I have to enter the Apple ID which I used to generate it. The Apple ID which I used to generate this was everything about Intune at gmail.com. This Apple ID is very important. Make sure this is not a personal Apple ID, because let's just say I'm using my personal Apple ID to download the APN, to download the PEM, and if I leave the organization and after that the APN gets expired, in that case it might cause some trouble, and we will have to do a remapping of a new Apple ID with our tenant. So for that we'll have to involve Apple, and there's a whole lot of process. So therefore make sure that this is something which everybody has access to, or all the admins have access to, more of like a service account or something like that. Once this is done, I'm going to click on upload. It now says that your MDM push certificate was successfully created. If I click on cancel over here, and if I click on Apple MDM push certificate again, now you can see that the status is active, last updated today, and the expiration is exactly 1 year from today. Okay, this is the subject ID of my APN, and everything looks set. So now I can go ahead and enroll an iOS device as well. And as I said, for enrollment of Android and Windows device, there is no prerequisite. The enrollment will happen seamlessly. Okay. Just one more thing which I wanted to show. For that, we will have to go into the Azure portal, and that is showing you guys the MDM scope. So if I go to Azure, and if I go to mobility MDM and MAM and click on Microsoft Intune, this is wherein we have to set the scope, and this is used for auto enrollment. So if we are going to make use of MDM and not going to make use of MAM, then I would suggest that set the MDM scope to all and set the MAM scope to none, and then do a save. We will talk about this later on, that what exactly this MDM scope is and what exactly these URLs are. But for now, as we are only focusing on enrolling a device and we are only focusing on MDM part of the things, let's just do a all over here and none over here and do a save. What is MAM? What is MDM? That is coming up in the next nugget, which is going to explain you what's the difference between the two and when we should use which one. Okay, but for now, just to facilitate the demonstration, just to facilitate a device getting enrolled to Intune, all we have to do is for iOS device, we have to set up that APN thing, and then we have to come over here and go to Microsoft Intune and set the scope to all for MDM and none for MAM. Once this is done, now I can actually go ahead and enroll a device to Intune. So I have this user. Let me just grab a iOS device and Android device and then try to enroll it. Okay, so now I have switched back from my iOS device to the Intune portal. And if I go into all devices, surely enough, now I can see the India Intune's iPad over here. If I click on that, it says it tells me the serial number of the device, dispatches with the serial number, which we can see physically in the device. It tells me when did the device last check in. It tells me it's a iPad Air 2, the operating system, the management name, enrolled by user. If I go to properties, it will show me the device category. If I go to hardware, it will show me the OS, the operating system version, storage, free storage. It will get a bunch of information from the device and it will all get populated over here. So the device is showing up over here. Once the end user enrolls his iOS device, the device shows up over here. Same would go in case of Windows and Android as well. So let me just enroll a Windows device as well. So I have a virtual machine. Probably I can try and enroll it. So I have to go to actions and okay. I logged into this machine a little while back and made sure that the device was not enrolled to any other tenant. And now that we have established that, I'm going to log into this device and enroll it to our tenant. So, as I have already said, for Windows and for Android, there is no prerequisite. So, for iOS, we had to do the setup of APN, but for Windows and Android, we don't have to do any setup. So, the same user, that is Tom, should be able to enroll his device seamlessly because he already has an EMS license assigned to him. So the way to do that would be, we don't need any company portal application for enrollment in case of Windows. So we'll have to go to start and then settings, and then we'll have to go into accounts and then access work or school. The steps that I'm following right now is going to be the steps which all the users have to follow when they are trying to enroll their Windows device. So the steps is going to remain the same. And then I have to click on connect, and then I have to enter. I can try and join this device to the Azure AD. I don't want to do that. I just want to enroll it. So it's no, it's not Sorrow. It's Tom at the rate nuggetlabs1 dot on microsoft.com, and then I have to enter its password. So this is the password for this. Let me just copy it, go back over here. As you can see, now when it's asking me for the password, it is doing that trick from company portal branding. It is displaying the name of my organization as well as the logo. I enter the password over here. Not sure if it got copied. Okay, I think I'll have to manually enter it. Okay, so what happens is that the device gets Azure AD registered and then the device gets enrolled. So over here you can see it says that hold on while we register this device to your company. So it's doing the Azure AD registration, and then the enrollment is going to, okay, it says that you need to set up the PIN. So let me just set up the PIN right now. Pick a verification method, text message, select your country. It's India. Phone number. I think this is probably because Windows Hello for Business is enabled. So I'm waiting on the text message. I think I just got one. and the text message is 241503. Okay. Okay, create a pin. Okay, so now the device apparently is enrolled. So once the Windows device is enrolled, it shows up over here with the name of the account under work or school account, the name of the account who has enrolled it. If I click on that, it gives me the option of manage info and disconnect. If I click on info, it gives me the option of running a sync. So every time the end user has to run a sync from his device, this is how he would be running a sync. Okay, so I am just running. If I click on manage, it is giving me the option. Let's just see what option it's giving me. Mm, Okay, I think it's opening up a website. Let it happen in the background. If I click on disconnect, that is how an end user will be unenrolling his device from Intune. So let me just run a one more quick sync real quick. And the same way we will have to enroll an Android device as well. I mean, for Android and Windows, there is not much prerequisite because no APN is needed, and it kind of happens seamlessly. So if I go back to device actions and then to all devices, over here now you can see that FC-CL02 is now enrolled. If I click on this, the device last check-in time is there, management name is there, and the other fields might get populated shortly. So yeah, it looks good. I think the device was enrolled successfully. Just check one more quick thing. Uh, Okay, I was just checking. It's showing that 22 GB free of 40 GB. So I was just checking whether it shows the same information or not, and it is more or less it is quite accurate. So it looks good, and if I click on that device, I can actually find out the Azure AD device. This is the Azure AD device ID of the device, and this is the Intune device ID of the device. And that's what we get over here as well. That's the Intune device ID of the device. Okay, so let me just go back to devices. So all we have done until now is we created a user on the cloud, and then we assigned it a license and assigned it a usage location. For iOS, we appropriately configured the APN. However, for Windows and Android, no configuration was needed to be done, and the user went ahead and enrolled his device. So for Android and for Windows, the device is going to show up over here, and one of the columns is user principal name. So let me see if I can make this better. Okay, all right. There is no email address associated. So last check-in time is there. What I'm trying to show over here is the user principal name associated with both the users is the same, that is Tom at the Nugget Labs 1. So the Windows device also got enrolled successfully, and once the devices are enrolled, now we can create a security group. I mean, we can create it beforehand also. So now let me just create a security group. Let me just call it a I'm creating a security group, calling it a test security group, and group description membership type is assigned because I'm assigning the members, and I'm going to assign Tom. So this is equivalent to creating a security group or a DL in the on-prem. So I just created a test security group and assigned Tom to it. And now what I can do is I can use this group and create compliance or configuration policies. That is exactly how we will be leveraging the MAM or the MDM part of it. So now we have done all we needed to do under device enrollment. So Apple enrollment we have configured. Android enrollment is enabled by default. uh, Windows enrollment is also enabled by default. Autopilot and other features we'll be discussing in a separate nugget. So now what we can do is we can go to device compliance and then click on policies, and this is wherein we create a device compliance policy. So if I create a test device compliance policy, I can actually assign it to a Windows 10 and later, and I can actually assign it to a device or a user. So let's just say that I do minimum OS operating system version should be Windows 1803 or maybe 1709. Maximum OS version, I'm just leaving that default, and then whatever settings we want to configure, we can configure from here. It has got a whole bunch of securities and settings and passwords and whatnot. So, and then once I create a compliance policy, I have to assign it, and this is wherein I will be assigning it to a security group. So I click on select groups to include, and then I am assigning it to the test security group. What this means is whosoever is part of this test security group, whosoever user, whatsoever devices that user has enrolled, that device is going to get this test device compliance policy. So if I go back to devices and then all devices, I can see the devices from here. I can run a sync of the device from the portal as well. All I have to do is I have to click on sync and then yes. I can unenroll the device from portal as well. All I have to do is do a delete or a retire. And I can restart the device remotely as well. So, and from the device end, I believe I've already shown how we can run a sync. So all we have to do is go to access work or school, and from there it gives us that option of selecting the account who has enrolled the device, and then from there we can go to info, and then we can click on sync and run the sync. Okay, so that is pretty much it as far as enrollment is concerned. Now we can probably assign an application to this device. So what I can do is I can go to apps, and then what I would be doing is I'm going to add and then adding an application from here, a kind of an application, and then deploying it to the device. So what I've done is the next nugget which I have made that gives you a detailed walkthrough through all the blades that is present in the Intune portal. So I'm not going to cover all the blades over here in this nugget. It's going to be covered in the next one. However, what I wanted to show you guys in this one is how we can do the needed how we as an admin can do the needed setup so that the end users would be able to enroll their devices. Now once the device is enrolled, we as an Intune admin can push MDM policies or MAM policies and then use those policies to govern the device or govern the application in the device. So for more insights and more details into it, please go through the tutorial, the third nugget, which shows about how, which gives us a walkthrough over the Ibiza console. Uh, okay. So that's pretty much it, guys, for this deck. So we were able to assign the licenses, we were able to customize the company portal, supported devices we took care of. Testing the enrollment, we have already tested for Android and for Windows. For Windows and for iOS, the same thing is for Android as well. And we have pushed a sample device compliance policy from the portal. And as I have said, I have done a separate nugget wherein I am going to walk through each and every blade of the Intune portal of the Ibiza console, which will give us a better understanding. So In this nugget, we were able to create a new tenant for us, just like creating a new domain. We were able to sign into the new tenant using an Intune admin. We were able to set the MDM authority appropriately. We were able to add and create a user in the cloud, and we were able to assign licenses to that user. And we were able to customize the company portals and see what exactly the end user's experience is when the user tries to enroll his device and sees the company branding, the other logo which we have uploaded, if you would call it that, or the other images that we have uploaded. Then we enabled the device enrollment. Not, as I already said, nothing needs to be done for Android and for Windows. All we needed to do for them was set the MDM scope appropriately to all for MDM and none for MAM. And in case of iOS, we saw how exactly to download the CSR from the Intune portal and upload it to the Apple website, get the PEM file from there, upload it to the Intune website, and configure it with the Apple ID to establish that trust between the Intune service and the Apple. Because, as I've already said, in case of iOS devices, the any MDM, not just Intune, cannot directly talk with the iOS devices. They have to talk to it via the APN service or Apple push notification service. And the only way to establish that is, first we have to establish a trust or a connection between the Intune service and the APN service, which is done by downloading the CSR, uploading it to the Apple website, and downloading the PEM file from there and uploading it to the Intune service. Then we took a look over the enrollment demo, wherein I enrolled test devices and showed how exactly they are visible in the Intune portal, and we pushed a sample configuration policy. So guys, I hope this has been informative for you. Please refer to the next nugget, wherein I will be doing an in-depth and detailed analysis of each and every blade to answer further queries and to see how exactly we can set up device configuration, compliance policy, and to find out how exactly we can leverage MAM and MDM functionality of Intune. So guys, I hope this has been informative for you. I would like to thank you for viewing. This is your friend Saurabh Sarkar signing off.